I think it has happened again.
No, surely not. Welcome
No,
back
it
to
is. It is.
Again?
Oh,
No, I'm
it is.
here.
It's happening.
Has
I'm
it
It's
here.
happened?
actually happening.
So we can't hear it.
He's
He's gone.
lagging.
Is it happening
Welcome back to the OPL,
again?
guys. I'm Spawn. Nick, your host, has lagged out. He said it could happen again. We will get him back in no time whatsoever. But Rusty,
Disaster.
order pick up
Hey.
a 2-0. One of the rare 2-0s of the season. What did you make of that game?
Yeah, actually, like to me, that was a better game overall from Order. There was still some moments where, like, and I think it's just an Order thing. Like they've got their advantages. They're going to push it as hard as they possibly can, and there are some punishes from any team they play against, from the bottom to the top of the table. But when they've got the lead, it always feels like they're in control, which I think is one of the better aspects of the way Order plays League of Legends.
Yeah, I think it's that fine line between trying to push a lead and close out a game versus, slowly accruing objectives. And Order seem to want to do two things at once a lot of the time, which certainly could come back to bite them. However, Nick has returned, so I'm going to stop hosting. Nick, it was a seamless transition. You would be so proud.
Oh, dude, I heard it just as we finished. This is your host, Spawn. It was a beautiful thing. Not a beautiful thing. I have no idea what's going on. My Ethernet just disconnects. I unplug, replug. It starts working. Victor,
I'm actually DDoSing
come
you.
up to the beaches, man. Oh, right.
'Cause I
That's
wanna
what it
host.
is. It's because
And
you want the toilet.
we're back. I'm going to turn the guys down. Welcome back to GOV Cast. My name is Sean Callanan. I'm your host. We're going to talk some League of Legends and hopefully explain a little bit of League of Legends and what I did promise. Didn't get to it last time. I'm trying to keep up to date, see everything that's happening, see what's happening in the chat as people are joining in across multiple channels. And as people start getting on board, I'm going to explain a bit more about League of Legends, um, what the game's like, the positions, the map, um, those kind of things. I'm just checking the monitors, checking that everything is running. I'm going to do a bit of an intro to the team, to the Gravitas squad, and we will get going. And yes, I see you there, Blue Panda. Potentially, it might happen, but just not just now. I want to get into the game, but at the moment we are good to go. So what you're watching, just to no, this way. I've got to point the right way. Over there, no, over there. I've got to get my left and rights working. That is Nick Boy Richardson, and they are the casters. They are the people who do this thing professionally. I am merely a sports guy or a sports geek, and I'm trying to explain this League of Legends to an audience that is never watching League of Legends. And so you might be a sports fan. Oh, now look what I've done. How many times are we now touching our face when we're not meant to touch our face? We shouldn't be touching our face. Um, just a reminder there. Just don't. We'll put up a little bit of a. There's some messages. Stay inside. Uh, Social distancing. All of those things. Right. I want to get into the stream and talk a little bit about the team. Learn a little bit more about the team. I quickly ran through the intros last game. We fell to the Chiefs, unfortunately. But this time, hopefully, the lineup, it is the same lineup going early here. It's the same lineup. Pabu playing in the top lane. The top lane is, and I'm going to explain that in a moment as I get the right one. Pabu in the top lane, Pralis in the jungle, Sorman in the mid, Puma and Trashley down in bot. Right, the bottom lane, Puma playing ADC and Trashley playing uh, playing in support. Now, I've promised to explain the game a little bit better. And so this is Summoner's Rift. This is the map. This is what they play the game on. And so what we can see is a top. So the very top of the map is the top lane. The mid is the mid lane, is in the middle, funnily enough. And we've got a bottom lane, which is known as the bot lane. They're the three lanes. And at the top right, we have the red base, and the bottom left, we have. Oh, what do you mean, no sound? No sound? Just in this one? Oh, there's sound now. No, it's fine. Are we? Hang on. Are we getting? On the website there was no sound. Okay. Okay. Understand. Yep. Yep. Rookie mistake. Rookie mistake. Okay. Okay. So I showed you the website. Just trust me. Gravitas GG. Great website. Now the audio is back. And apologies for not keeping an eye on Twitch chat. I was trying to keep a idea there, and thank you, Blue Panda, for that. So back to Summoner's Rift. I won't jump back to the browser anymore, because obviously I completely stuffed that up. So Summoner's Rift. Summoner's Rift. There we go. Right, that is Summoner's Rift. That's the map. Top lane, mid lane, and bottom lane. And that is, super important because that's how the game is won, and that's how the game is played, I should say, around the different positions. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to explain the different positions, and if you remember the different positions, it's Pabu playing top, Praelis in the jungle, Suman in the mid, Puma and Trashley down in bot. They're the 5 positions. So what I was promising was to discuss what would an AFL team, what would AFL players, what would those roles be from an AFL or an NBA point of view. So first of all, the top lane. And this is my interpretation. It could be completely wrong, and most likely it is completely wrong. So this is almost wrong answers only. So top lane, we heard Why Not and Bambi talk about some tanks that happen in top lane, and they take a lot of damage, and they're really hard to kill. So they're really solid performers. So if you're talking about an NBA, it's a power forward. It's a power forward position. So a Tim Duncan type player can take a lot of beating in there doing the hard work. If you're talking about AFL, you're talking about like a centre half back that can repel attacks. So maybe like an Alex Rance, recently retired Richmond star. Maybe that's who you're talking about. And then if we look at a jungle can go anywhere around the Summoner's Rift. So they've just got free wheel. They can go anywhere. They've got license to do whatever they want, pretty much. So in the AFL sense, you're talking about your Dusty Martins, your Paddy Dangerfields, your Dane Swan. Just letting go all over the map. That's what a jungle is. That's what Praelis does for the Gravitas lineup. But in an NBA sense, it's probably a bit of a more of a point guard, more of a general, maybe a Chris Paul or a My Era, an Isaiah Thomas, someone that's directing traffic, getting to sort of a bit of a shot call of the team. Sometimes the jungle is a bit of a shot caller. Now the mid laner sort of surveys the field from the mid lane, and they can move around. Normally a really good performer. We've got a classy look, be able to move around the map quite easily and really affect the game. And for me, that would be a Scotty Pendlebury. And I've missed the ad. So let's get rid of this one. Oh, we're in a champ select. I will do more of this. I'll do more of this later. So I got up to mid. So Gravitas playing pentanet.gg. So we are currently in champ select. As I said before, the bans happen up the front. 3 bans for each side, taking away champions from the other team.
And I think Gravitas, maybe this week, has been the biggest improved team. So I'm really interested to see how they go up against Pentanet. Before you actually asked me the question, I was trying to find the standings I don't know whether they're live on the OPL website, but I'm just checking them out. And these teams, like, daylight is between them. It's one game, I believe, between Pentanet.gg and the Gravitas lineup. And if Gravitas win this, they will be within this playoffs race well and truly going into the last Super.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'll send it to you now, and you can have a quick look as it is happening as we like to see it. It is live and ready to rock and roll, and Pabu, he's going to do it. He's committing. He's been this new addition to the roster, a familiar face for them, but he is going to show us the Monkey King.
Yeah, and I think this is a great pickup for Pabu, because I would say that Pabu can play it, Suman can play it, and I would not be surprised to see if Praelis can play it, because they're all like kind of that style of champion, right? Skimmy, we talk about all the time. This is a disruptive front line that Gravitas kind of play around, and I think that that is just a really brutal pick ban phase. If you have to ban Echo away from Praelis, and you leave up Wukong, who is largely regarded the strongest champion on the patch, you better have...
So there we go. Bit of conversation there from Spawn and Skimmy talking about the champ select. Wukong has been banned a lot. And now we're going to see who... We still don't know who is going to play what position. Now I'm going to check.
It's actually just one of the best self-sufficient lanes down there in the bottom as well. It gets a really good push. And then after level 6, it's quite difficult to dive. Even before level 6, if you're a really good Taric player, you can really block a lot of these engages. So I think that this is just further towards the style of the Gravitas lineup. You know, we want to set Pabu up for success. We want Puma and Trashly to be a little bit more self-sufficient. And I think that's what they're going to get. Unless we see something like a Cassiopeia or a Poppy, it's going to be very hard to shut down this Kalista in the mid game, where she really does range supreme. Obviously, she gets outscaled by every AD carry in the game, but for those 2 to 3 items, she is very, very strong.
Well, it makes it quite scary then if you're looking at these early objectives to try and control those. Pentanet are reading this says, look, we need to try and deny away more junglers here for Praelis, so adding to that list now is the Olaf as well. And they've drafted the aggressive bot lane that we've seen time and time again. A lot of it was seen in the games last night with the Misfortune and the Nautilus, but they are going to stick to traditional Ornn, so they've got that scaling component, and the response from Gravitas is also the same. Target the jungle.
Yeah, absolutely. And Skimmy, before we get into this next phase of picks and bans, just something really important to point out in this playoff race. So Avant...
So what I want to do is just talk a little bit about the pick ban and what they're trying to do here, as best I understand it. They are trying to take away jungle picks from Jordan Fernandez, aka Praelis. And that is mean he's going to have to go deeper and deeper into his champion pool, potentially. And so it's a strategy to try to nullify Praelis' impact on the game. Let's check in on what Spawn and Skimmy are saying.
Despite the fact they're not playing, because they hold head-to-head against both the teams, so in a 3-way tie, they would just advance straight through.
Yep, Avant are done for today, so you won't get to see them until next week. So I'm sure they'll be intently watching this, keen to sort of study up what their opponents are looking to gear towards. And as we now get into the second rotation of the pick and ban phase, the final bans, once again, still hovering towards those junglers. We've seen a very big preference on sort of towards Kindred and Karthus. The response is deny hard engage. We don't want to deal with the Jarvan. And you can imagine why, right? You know, so much protection, once again, with these 3 initial picks that Gravitas have opted towards.
Yeah, certainly. However, Sully once again going back towards this Lee Sin, and we've been quite critical of it. You know, something like the Gragas would have been available. However, probably would have given them too much magic damage on the top side of Summoner's Rift. And we are actually going to see a final pick set. This champion seems so strong still, Skimmy, but it's just falling through pick ban phases at random intervals at the moment. I really like Gravitas' comp. They have a full dive comp with a Taric. They have just spades of backline accents. This is honestly Taric's dream. Now, I think that they get outscaled so severely if this is going to be a Corki lock-in. You have Corki, Misfortune, going to be running around with ornaments. You also have Nautilus, one of the best late-game supports. I think Taric will maybe outscale in teamfight, so if it's paid perfectly by Trashly. But this is 2 very conflicting styles. I would say Pentanet probably want to avoid the teamfights at the start of the game, whereas this Gravitas lineup, they just want to go hammer and tongs.
Well, Gravitas have held their cards, and we're going to finally settle on a Praelis jungle Wukong. Going to get to see the influence of that being played from a ganking perspective as opposed to just the laning standpoint. And a little tidbit, a little known fact here, from the last 8 games that Sully has played, 6 of those 5 of those have been on this Lee Sin. So the guy's been putting in a lot of work, and this is something that you've discussed in the past, I believe, at the start of the split, of like, this is a new champion he's picked up into his roster, and definitely sitting at it of like, I need to really get this as a comfortable pick for me to.
All right,
absolutely.
we're
And
going
this
to get
is,
stuck
kind
into
of
the
where
game
criticism of
shortly.
Sully was as an amateur jungler. He's
But you
very
can I sort of deliberately cut back on the casters there for a brief moment to let them explain, I guess, the nuances of the champ select. Hopefully, once the guys are away, we can hear from Calvin and Omo. But I can get back. I can get back to my explaining Summoner's Rift and where I was up to. AFL players, mid laner. I think it's Scott Pendlebury. I think it's a player that can control the game from the middle of the field, which is what Scott Pendlebury, Collingwood captain, does with ease. And in the NBA, I think it's that all-tool small forward. I think Kawhi Leonard or LeBron James would be a mid laner in League of Legends. Now ADC, we were joined by Bambi, who is one of our ADCs. I did explain the lineup, and apparently no audio. No audio, so I will go back to the browser and do that later. But Bambi's one of our ADCs, and ADC is a marksman, long-range shooter. So in the NBA, 3-pointers. So I'm thinking it might be a Klay Thompson of the Golden State Warriors, or if you want to go old school, an Australian legend, Andrew Gaze. I think he would be an ADC, be able to shoot it from long range. But I think in the AFL, I think an ADC is the player that triggers an attack from half back with those long raking kicks into the forward line. So maybe a Lockie Whitfield or a Josh Kelly for the Giants would be an ADC. And then I think support, because the support helps the ADC and is always sort of there running with them. In the AFL sense, I think it's a tagger. I think it's a tagger that locks down on someone, but more importantly, it's supporting like a star midfielder or a star player. So I think in the AFL sense, if you're talking about like a Cameron Ling or a Matt DeBoer or someone like that, then in the AFL, I think it's a defensive guard, someone that can try to lock down a scoring option. So, old school, I would think Joe Dumas, who did quite well against Michael Jordan back in the day, but maybe Matty Dellavedova. If you're looking for an Australian basketballer, I think he would be a support player. As he does, he's always been supporting someone like a Paddy Mills, who would be an ADC. There you have it. That's how I think. If you're looking at NBA, if you're an AFL fan, that's potentially what we're looking at. Let's make sure that we've got the guys. They are waiting for the game. We are going to, like I said before, and I think Spawn said it, is a big game. Blue Panda is going to be joining us in a minute. We are just waiting for the game to get set up. I'm going to get Blue Panda into the voice channel, and let's have a chat about what he thinks of what's going on. My camera's getting out of focus. What I'm trying to do is to get the draft up, and I'm hoping I'm just keeping an eye on the channel. Let's jump in, turn this one off, this one on, and if I'm in there, Blue Panda, welcome to the cast.
How's it going?
Pretty good, yourself?
Not bad, not bad. Just finished casting some University League of Legends. So
who is playing in the University Leagues tonight?
Believe it or not, it is actually a player that might be known by some of the boys who are watching currently. Emelg was one of the players.
Emelg, former Gravitas OCS player. We know Emelg.
Yeah,
and
he was.
And thank you very much for saying his name correctly. We had to send Bryce a few notes last year just to say Emelg. How did Emelg go?
They took their time finishing out the game, but they did win. Imogen was playing with him as well.
Yep.
So there's a couple of names who were playing in the tournament. YGX, another player who some of the followers of the amateur scene might know, but Yeah, I know Melg, and I know Why Not as well. I've interacted with them a few times, and the last couple of months, and starting up my casting career. So I'm very familiar with what's going on with them, and how to say names. It's one of the big things as a caster you should know.
Oh, definitely, definitely. So, what I'm trying while you're, so we are 4 minutes away. So tell us a little bit about how did you get started following and playing League of Legends?
I've had a pretty interesting history, all said and done. So I originally started casting about 8 years ago with a North American organization who had some ties to OCE as well.
Yep.
Started with a guy who goes by the name of Matt Pixie Carroll. He's now actually one of the primary OCE Overwatch casters.
Okay.
He made the transition to that, and then from there he carried on doing that. I took a bit of a break, and then when I came back to League of Legends, I actually ended up being a coach for an OCS team back in 2016.
Terrific.
We didn't do overly well. We sort of went 0-7, but some of the players who went from that team have gone on to the OPL, the likes of 528, Crazy, Raid,
Okay.
Scam Deputy, who made it back into the OCS, hasn't quite made it to the OPL. And then from there, it burnt me out a little bit just because of the commitment that it was.
So
And then last year I came back. I did my first cast last year for the Meta HSC High School League, and then from there I've just gone hard.
terrific. So Blue Panda, I've brought up the Champ Select. Do you want to take us through some of the champions and some of their skills for both Gravitas and Pentanet? Have you?
Yeah,
you should be...
I can do that. So Gravitas have a pretty interesting lineup. Their lineup is looking to fight. They're looking to fight consistently. They're looking to go in very, very deep and try and attack this Pentanet lineup. You've got Set up in the top lane. He's basically, what you would imagine, like a WWE fighter. He's looking to brawl. He's looking to throw hands and Wukong.
So Wukong's one that's been banned a lot because it's seen as a dangerous champ. Why is that?
For the longest time, Wukong was largely underwhelming. He had to do either really, really well, or he was basically non-existent in the game. He did receive some changes in the last patch that gave him, a huge improvement to his quality of life. He's an incredible threat right now.
We discussed this in the last cast. So he got buffed in a recent patch.
Yeah, basically.
Yep. And what about Suman? Who is he playing?
So he is playing a champion known as LeBlanc. She's sort of a deception mage. She has the ability to jump in and do a lot of damage in a brief second and then jump out again. So she has a lot of damage balanced with a lot of safety. So she can be a real threat playing out of the fog wall, which is where you can't see. So if you don't have vision there, all of a sudden that's where LeBlanc shows up. She does a lot of damage. She can really, really hurt some of these, smaller champions that don't necessarily have the health pool as some of the bigger ones.
Okay. And our bot lane. What are Puma and Trashly running with?
So Puma's playing Callista, a champion that fell out of fortune a wee while back, but has started to make a bit of a comeback. She's more of a sustained fighter, so she has a mechanic where she throws spears at you and builds up spears. So she just stacks those up, gets more spears into you, and then she can use her ability, her E called Rend, and pulls out. And for every spear that's there, she does more and more damage. So she's looking for some of these sustained trades, and then all of a sudden she just procs that E, and whoever she's attacking pops. You then got Trashly, a support player who I'm a big fan of, actually. I followed him for a little while in his career and streaming and stuff. Big fan of what he's offering. But Tarek is the champion that he's playing. He's a support. He's very tanky. He heals. He offers CC as well.
Yep.
And then he has his ultimate, which is a tool that negates all damage after a brief period, which is very, very strong.
Okay. And Spawn mentioned it briefly in the cast. He said the Gravitas boys want to fight, and the Penta guys are going with that longer, slow game plan, want to make the game, lengthen the game and scale later in game. Is that their comp?
Yeah, most definitely. Like, you look at Gravitas' lineup, they want to be finishing the game around the 25 to 28 minute mark. If they can do that, they can easily win this. Whereas you look at Pentanet, they've got Ornn, they've got a number of champions which are looking to draw out the game as long as possible. Because the longer the game goes, the stronger they can get, at which point they take fights, they win them, and there's only so much that Gravitas can do to contest it. And I think that it's a very smart read, but it has to go well for Pentanet to be able to take it.
So we are going to jump into the game. It's going to kick off. Thank you very much for joining us, Blue Panda. The early game is a little bit slow, isn't it?
Yeah, so that is sort of the period you want to be, picking up farm, which is what these little things you'll see jumping on the screen. They're called minions. Once you kill them, they give you gold. So you have to secure the last 100 of them. You want to be building those kills up. So the more kills you get, the more gold you get. Obviously, from there you build items and scale going into the mid to late game. So I wouldn't imagine that we see a lot of fighting in the early game. Some teams will prefer to go that way. I mean, you've got Tencent who have that rogue on the Nautilus. He's a champion that fights very well in the early game. So we could see some fighting coming early on, but I wouldn't imagine that's how we're going to see it.
Yeah, and so at the moment it's just a matter of sort of setting the map and sort of getting ready for the first key objective. Yeah.
Yeah, so you've got two main objectives outside the structures and everything on the map. You've got Dragon, which spawns at the 5-minute mark. So that gives you a slight buff, and if you pick up 4 of those buffs, it then transitions to something a bit bigger. So we're starting off with a Mountain Drake. If you kill that at the 5-minute mark or around that mark, you pick up the buff. It gives you some resistances, so it makes you a bit harder to kill. You've then got Baron, or the Rift Herald rather, which they spawn in the same spot. Rift Herald is an objective which you pick up the Rift Herald self. You can then use it to take down some of these structures, which are called towers around the map. So
Yep.
it just allows you to gain control of the map a bit better.
Okay. And so so early on, it's just a matter of I guess setting up the match. Explain to people who are watching, because sometimes you hear the casters talking about setting, and anytime there's a bit of fighting happening, we can jump straight into explaining what's happening. Explain to me what wards are.
So, I mean, obviously, you look at the map right now, there are parts of the map which are black or rather grayed out. You can't see what's going on. Wards are a mechanic in the game. You put them down, it gives you vision over that spot.
So from a team point of view, you put these wards out so you know if someone is walking through the river or past the Baron pit or whatever, your team will know. Oh, we know that Getbat is flying around there, that kind of thing, yeah?
Yeah, it just gives you that extra information. Like you see Sully, you see someone like that. If you get a ward in the right position, it shows you where he's going to be, or at least where he is at that moment. It then allows you to sort of figure out roughly where he's going to be or where his attention is. And it allows your teams to play a little bit safer or potentially capitalize on his misposition and pick up kills for themselves.
And is it a specific role that does more of that than others, or are we about to see a fight here? Hang on, what's happening?
Rogue is looking to make something happen. Sully is there as well. They get the hook off.
Yep.
Puma is caught. The igniter's dropped. Luckily, though, the flash is there for Puma. He's going to jump away. Unfortunately, though, it is Sully. He has that sonic wave, jumps in and picks his team up first blood, which is a decent chunk of gold going over.
So every time you beat someone or you defeat them, you effectively steal some gold from them.
Not necessarily steal. They don't lose anything from it other than just not being there. But yeah, you get yourself an advantage in terms of experience and gold.
Okay, and again, that helps you level up. The more you level up, the more you scale up, the more powerful you will be later in the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And so explain to me how there's sort of like an early game, which we're currently in, early game, sort of mid-game, late game, and how the game changes around those sort of stages.
Yeah, so basically each champion is looking for what's called a power spike, whether that's, they hit a certain level which allows them to upgrade a certain ability to, a certain point, or they pick up a certain item. And there are certain champions which are there a little bit more telegraphed, like Corky. He's looking for an item called a Trident. So he's probably not going to hit that until around the level 15 mark, but as soon as he picks it up, his auto attacks will hit harder after using abilities. And it looks like Sully's looking for something else. He's found Puma. He's going to jump in. Puma is able to jump away, though. They also have the Dazzle there from Trash. They're going to get the stun. Make It Rain is going to slow Puma up. Unfortunately, he doesn't have Flash, which means he could be in a bit of trouble. Praedyth does. He jumps in. Puma is looking like he might die here, so Praedyth picked himself up another kill, and unfortunately, this is one of the downsides of picking a champion like Callista. She can struggle into some of these matchups where she can be quite easily abused.
And so is it hard, is the game get harder for Puma for those 2 early kills?
Yeah, it's time that he could be farming, which is what you want to be doing as an ADC.
Yep.
I think the best thing they have going for them right now is the fact that Pabu has been left alone. Pabu is an absolute powerhouse in the top lane.
Yep.
Not only that, he's playing a champion which does transition really, really well going into the later stages.
So what do you mean transition, becomes more powerful and deals more damage?
Yeah, so Set is an interesting character. He's only been brought in the last 12 months. He hits very hard. He scales really well in terms of, the items he invests in make his abilities do more damage. But then he also has a really, really impactful ultimate, which is the 4th ability every champion has that you don't unlock to level 6. So it's called the Showstopper. Basically, what it is, is you become uncontrollable. So basically, if you get crowd controlled or stunned or anything like that, it doesn't work. He then picks up whoever he's targeting. He then drops. The more health they have, the more damage it does. So it basically fighting into someone like Ornn who is looking to build extra health, it can do a lot of damage. And if you pick it up Ornn and drop him on his teammates, it does damage to them as well.
So PGG is going to grab the first dragon. Is that expected because they've got a bit more priority in the bottom lane because Puma's had a couple of losses, a couple of kills early or deaths early?
Yeah, because they have been prioritizing getting advantages in the bot lane, it does mean they have an easier time securing that objective. Puma and Trashly can't contest right now just because they need to funnel as much, gold and experience onto Puma as they possibly can. As well, Seaman is in a rough spot because he's going to be consistently shoved in because that's how Corki works. He looks to push lanes and then gain objective that way. So it was very unlikely that they were ever going to get the first dragon. But I mean, it's a solo mountain dragon. You can't only being able to pick up one doesn't actually do that much for your team.
So what is the line that's holding Trashly and Puma together that we see on screen now?
Puma is playing, Callista. Callista's a rather interesting champion. She has basically an inbuilt mechanic where she partners with another character in the game.
Yep.
So she tethers to them, and it works with her ultimate. So basically, when she uses her ultimate, it pulls that champion in. They become untargetable, and then that champion can be thrown at someone and causes whoever they hit to be knocked up. So that's what that tether is.
So it's like a sling. So it's like a slingshot.
Yeah, kinda.
Yeah. Thank you. This is the questions that both we have, and every time I'm on a call with friends that haven't watched League of Legends, like the question we had in the last game was, who's the guy running around with the mattress, which was Braum, and so I try my best to explain those kind of things. So at this part of the game, there is still a feeling out in the top lane. Pabu and Bio are still sort of whacking each other. And we're just starting to see the junglers sort of move around. We saw Praylor sort of hiding in the bushes before. Are we going to have a fight here?
Honestly, yeah, we are. It looks like actually no. I wouldn't be surprised if Gravitas sort of just does defer fighting, which unfortunately it looks like they're about to commit to. Is Trashly and Puma in a bit of trouble? They look to force something, and they've been punished for it. But
and now they got through.
Yeah, now Sully's looking for something as well. So they have basically what's called they've been zoned off an objective. So basically they cannot contest it without risking death, which is just more gold and experience to Pentanet. So they just give it up. They go back to base. They heal up, or they just wait around, see if they can gain some sort of way back into this game. And I'm not sure if they're going to find it. They do have support though, as Seaman and Praylor are there. So they are going to turn it around. Rogue gets picked up. That's a kill on a Seaman who it's pretty good for a kill to go into Seaman's pocket because he is a very impactful champion and can hit very, very hard. And so you want to be able to funnel some more of the gold onto him if you can.
Terrific. So they pretty much just had to go down there because the guys in the bot lane were under so much pressure. They had to go down there to give them, support.
Basically, so what happened there is Pentanet got over aggressive. So they found they were very forward. They were in a position where they were trying to shut down, Puma and Trashly. As a result, the rest of Gravitas said, "Hey, you know what? They're way out of position. If we come down, we can probably capitalize on it." And that's exactly what happened.
Yep.
And now we're heading into the 9-minute mark, which is traditionally between 7.5 and 9 minutes. Is when what we see is what's happening is called a lane swap. So the bot lane duo with Gravitas and Rogue are now heading top. That just gives them control over that Rift Herald, which is what Sully is doing now, and it just gives them more control around the map. It gives their bot lane time to go. Ornn by Panther head down to the bot lane. He can pick up more farm and experience for himself, and it just puts them in a more favorable position because they take Rift Herald, they can open up towers. Unfortunately for them, though, Praylor and the rest of Gravitas are here, so they've zoned them off it, and they're going to be able to take this objective.
So getting the Rift Herald, we sort of saw it before, allows you to take it to a tower and get that early tower or get some of those gold plates. So we can sort of see on that tower those gold plates. You can get them, and so how much gold do you get for a plate on a tower?
I believe it really depends on how many champions are there.
Okay.
It sort of scales with how many people are there. If it's a solo one, I believe it's around 180. From there, it sort of just gets split further and further.
But you can get those plates before they fall off at some point, so there's an opportunity to pick up that gold.
Yeah, so there's a lot of we might see Pabu going in here. He does get the head smashes together on Praetus. Praetus will flash out. Cyclone coming out onto Rogue. Rogue has been knocked up again, so he's in a bit of trouble here because Pavu was there. He does get the showstopper as well. Does a bit of damage on the Praetus, but picks himself up his kill.
Good
So
work,
Pavu is
Pavu.
having a great game right now. They've also got the Rift Herald in position, so they can look to do some pretty decent damage. They will actually take this tier 1 turret, which will be the first tower of the game.
Terrific. And so again, it's what people have asked me is like, who's winning? So how? And I'm half asking in this game, but I'm also asking if you tune into a game of League of Legends, what do you look at to find out who is winning, if such a thing exists?
Okay, there's a couple of things to look at in terms of who's winning. First place to look is obviously the gold, which you can see on the top right, top of the screen by the scores.
Yep.
If one team is significantly ahead of the other in terms of gold, it's a clear indicator of how the game has been going, as well as the kills, obviously.
Yep.
If one team has 14 kills and the other team only has 2, you can kind of gather how things have been going.
Yep.
If that's not necessarily, obvious as it is right now, it's pretty even in terms of gold. There's only
Yep.
about 400 gold difference. You look at the map. So where is it dark? Where are there things missing that should be? So each team has 2 towers in each lane.
Yep.
If you see a lane that is missing a tower, obviously they've applied pressure there, and it just gives them that advantage. The next thing you can look at is dragons. Obviously, Pentanet have 2, so they're working towards it's what's called a win condition. So you want to build up to this win condition. From there, it just helps you sort of accelerate to the point where you can actually win the game. So they are halfway to the win condition of Dragon, which is quite big for a team that like the one they're playing. They want to be able to move around. They want to use their ultimate's abilities as much as possible, which is what the Cloud Drake Soul does.
Okay. So it is a combination of, it's not just one or the other, because you can have more kills but still be behind in gold, or don't have the right dragons, or not be prepared for the late game. And the whole idea of the dragons is to sort of create those pivots in the game and sort of cause those fights where you've just got to get the dragon because or you've got to get the baron, those kind of things, because you have to sort of recover from where you are.
Yeah, most definitely. It's not necessarily, it's sometimes hard to tell who is winning at any point in a given game, unless it is incredibly one-sided and the score is wildly in one team's favor. So if you find yourself in positions like this, the game is very even. It's almost on a knife's edge. So it could go either way at any point in the game. We're really not going to know until sort of the next.
But we were in the previous game. Oh, gee, what was that? So in the previous game, it seemed to be quite even, and then there was a couple of key matchups, a couple of key kills by the Chiefs that sort of turned the game and put it right in their favour.
Yeah, exactly. As we see, Pavu unfortunately does get taken down. In saying it though, he did a pretty good job of putting out some damage there. He almost got a couple of kills.
Yep.
So as much as yes, he did die, and now they're going to lose a bit of turret pressure off it. He's in a good position. He's doing a lot of damage as it is.
So the other thing is, yes, he did die, but explain to me when they say he burned his flash or he burned his summoners.
So each player in the game, their champion has 2 summoner spells. So they do a variety of different things. One's a short distance teleport. There's a long distance teleport as well with the channel. You've got abilities like Barrier, which gives you a shield, as the name would sort of indicate. You've got Heal, which heals you, like it says.
So when you use them, do they then come? Then you have to wait for them to come back. Do they respawn effectively, or you just?
Yeah. So basically, they've got a cooldown timer. Summoner spells are traditionally a lot longer than regular abilities. So I mean, you look at the likes of Flash, which is it's a short distance teleport. You can use it to get over walls, like you Fire Panther and Rogue standing next to you. If you're in the right distance. It has about a 5-minute cooldown, so it can be quite significant if you have to use it defensively. It means that the next time you get caught out, you might be in a bit of trouble.
Okay, yeah, and so that's why they say, he burnt his summoner and it didn't work, and it means for the next 5 minutes he can't throw that spell or what he wants to do.
Yeah, it means that if he finds himself in an unfavorable position, he is really just going to have to rely on being able to run away from whatever's going on rather than being able to flash away from what's going on.
Cool. So we are sort of coming to the mid game now. Yeah, we've got a dragon spawning in 70 seconds or so. Is it just now about like we were talking about before with the wards and the vision and those kind of things, trying to know what everyone's trying to do and setting up for that potentially what might be a fight or something in about a minute's time?
Yeah, this is where, the Rift Herald and the Dragon just become that much more significant because that's where the fights are going to happen. Very rarely will you see a fight around a turret in the mid to early game unless, like I said, one team is very, very aggressive and they're diving under these towers, which is when you run in underneath the enemy's tower and look for a kill. At this stage, yeah, a lot of it is about the vision. They want to set up a vision so they can, take these objectives or even contest them, which is where, the other team started it. You then run in and try and take it away from them. So yeah, a lot of it does come down to vision, positioning, reading where the enemy team might be, and I think that's what's happening right now. Gravitas are taking the second Rift Herald of the game, which will allow them to get more pressure out on the map.
Yep.
They've already taken the top tier 2 towers as well, so there's no towers on the top side aside from the one that's in the base, so they have a lot more room to work.
So that's the thing. So as we take down the towers, the minions, the little guys, that they just keep marching on, and they can get further and further into the base, putting more pressure on their base. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one.
And so we are here, and there's going to be something happening. So if you want to cast when this next fight's happening, because I can sort of feel it in my waters, it's about to happen. What's going to happen here?
Well, it really depends on who gets sort of caught out of position because, Seaman, he's playing that LeBlanc. He hits very, very hard. If he can find someone all alone, he can kill them quite easily. But on the other side, you've got Ornn, who is a champion. His ability... Oh, there we go. The hooks come out. Trashley has been hit. Will throw out the dazzle, gets a stun off Seaman, jumps in, does a lot of damage. The ultimate is now coming out of Trashley, which negates a lot of damage. Cyclone has been used by Praelis. He's jumped in. Seaman has picked off the ADC Praetor, so he's dead. Sully is very low as well, has to get away. Seaman picks up that kill as well, which means that now that Sully's off the board, Gravitas have a much easier time contesting this dragon because one of the summoners that I was talking about earlier is an ability called Smite. It does true damage to these objectives, and if you don't have that available for your team, it's a lot harder to kill because it does so much more damage than anything else in the game.
Terrific. So that's one of those moments, like the pivotal moment in a key fight where it was 5v5, a couple of key plays, and then we get the advantage, and then because we killed a couple of them, we get to take the dragon. That's where those pivot points happen in the game, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. Rogue and Pentanet thought they had an advantageous position for that fight. They went on Trashley. Unfortunately, though, Seaman was there as well in the backside. They weren't quite aware of where he was. He got a decent amount of damage onto Praetor, who is one of the primary damage dealers on Pentanet. And from there, they were just able to keep taking kills. And obviously, they won it. They got themselves a dragon. And now they're sitting quite comfortably. And at this point, like I said, it can be hard to say who's in the lead. But after that fight, I have to say it's Gravitas because they took that a lot cleaner than Pentanet.
So again, like now, what's the next play? Is the next play the counter up the top right, the 147? So that's for Baron. Is that the next?
Yeah,
is that the next thing that's going to be next objective again? Setting up vision, trying to know where everyone is, getting the right champs in the right places.
Potentially, Baron is an interesting objective because it's probably arguably one of the most impactful things in the game. If you can secure Baron, it means your minions are hitting a little bit harder. They take less damage as well. So these towers become easier to take. But in saying that, a lot of teams will, despite having advantages, lose those advantages around the Baron pit because Baron does a lot of damage. You have to commit almost wholly to taking it if you want to get it. If not, you can take a lot of damage for it while you're trying to fight this enemy team. And this is where things can go a bit wrong. So I wouldn't be surprised if they sort of hold off Baron for the next wee while. Obviously, they can play the side lanes, which is what we see Parvu doing. He's playing in those side lanes, trying to get pressure on those turrets, because the less turrets on the map, the less room Pentanet have to work with. And from there, if they can take those objectives, they play these side lanes, which is sort of where, the later stages of the game become that much more important. If you can play those side lanes, set up the minion waves to be pushing towards the enemy base, it means they have to go and deal with that rather than contesting some of these big objectives. So it'll all be about side lane and wave management.
So I asked the guys in the last game, sometimes we see games where you have one of the guys playing a certain champion that just is becoming really hard to deal with. And so you start playing around them. Is there any of those players in this game on a particular champion? Is it Parbu because he was playing well earlier, or is it someone else?
Yeah, Set is one. He's a very high impact champion. I think it'd probably be the most appropriate term. If you don't deal with him early on, he can absolutely just run through teams with very, very little to worry about going into later stages. Because of the kit that he has, he's got a lot of damage in that kit, but he's also got a mechanic which allows him to survive quite well called Grit. So basically, he builds up these stacks of Grit. As we see Praelis going in, does get the knock up onto Rogue. Rogue is going to throw out his ultimate ability just to try and stop them. The Rift Herald will hit the tower. Unfortunately, because the kit that is available for Pentanet, they can disengage reasonably well and stop some of these heavy engages. But yeah, like I was saying, so Set does a lot of damage. He has a lot of survivability. So those grit stacks build up. He can then use his Haymaker, which is the one where you see the cone coming out.
Yep.
And once he uses that, he gains a shield, which negates a lot of damage as well. So he can be quite hard to kill. And if given time and the space to sort of ramp up to the point where we're seeing Pabu almost get to, he can be very hard to deal with. At which point, you can't take him in a 1v1 fight. You have to commit multiple members just to try and shut him.
And so from a levels point of view, we hear the casters talk about levels. You can see that on each player on the little indicators on the right. Is there certain levels, like is that how you sort of gauge a matchup if a player is ahead in levels against the opponent?
I mean, if the match is even, you'll sort of expect maybe one level difference, and even then it'll only be about half level in reality. So at most, yeah, you'll see them at one level ahead. But you start to look at other matchups, and they can the further behind you are, obviously the less damage you do, because with every time you level up, you upgrade those abilities, you get that much stronger. And so you look at Pabu. He had a level advantage not too long ago, obviously, because he'd been having a really good lane. So did Seaman at one point. Now, though, Get Back has sort of come back into it. He's gained the level advantage because he's kept farming and killing those minions and getting experience. So as much as, the levels can sort of tell you how the game is going, there are some points which are more impactful than other. Usually it's the level 6, 6, 11, and 16, as we see Praelis and Gravitas going in again. Unfortunately, Sully is very low. He will drop first.
Seaman, get in there.
The yeah, Pabu got in. He dropped Paleth into the middle of his team, and they picked that kill up as well. And yeah, at this point, I can quite safely say that Gravitas are in the lead.
And because they've got 5 guys and they've got 2 guys from Pentanet who've got to go back to base and got to wait to come back, we'll go and take the Baron. And as we learned in the previous game, that gives all of our minions. Are we going to get the Baron before they're going to come in, or are we going to have another fight?
I mean, there's a damage potential as well. Get Back's pretty healthy, and he does hit quite hard, though. Seaman is on the backside, so Rogue is down. This is what I was talking about. You either need to commit to the Baron or you back off and take the fight. Biopanther does a decent chunk of damage at this point because the way his champion works, he builds up around, building tanky. They are going to commit to the Baron, though. They are going to be able to take it down because they've got Puma, who's someone who also helps take down these Barons.
And now they've got that purple glow that gives them a bit more power in their for their champions.
Yeah. It makes them stronger and it makes the minions stronger.
So it's looking good. Looking good for now. And there's a trade that the PGG guys are going to go get the dragon.
Yeah, so it'll be their 3rd dragon, which means they're on what they call soul points. So Dragon Soul is when you get 4 dragons in the game. You then get an upgrade based on whatever the last 2, or depending on how things are going, 1 dragon was. So they put themselves on soul point right now, so they're that much closer to getting that bigger buff from the dragons. And we see the replay of the fight that's going on, and they did peel off quite well, which is when you sort of give up on an objective turn and try and fight your enemy. It was a bit risky because Praelis did have to blow his smite. He used it early rather than using it to secure, but they have Puma, who, because of that Ren, does a lot of damage in one shot, so he is able to capitalize on that. They get it. They get themselves out, and now they have Baron on 4 members. So that means that now they're going to be looking to play their side maps. We see Pabu again is down on the bot lane. With that Baron buff, he's going to look to try and do as much damage to these structures as he can. And, I mean, they're doing the same in the mid lane. So they're playing what's called a 0-4-1 split. So you have no one in top lane because, I mean, they've already got 2 towers down.
Yep.
They've committed 4 members to the mid lane. They can pressure it that way. And then you've got Pabu, who is a powerhouse on his own right now, is in the bot lane just doing his own.
And so at the moment, it's just really building pressure up by taking out the towers so the minions can work further up into their base, yeah?
Basically, so what they're doing is they're applying pressure in the lanes because they're that far ahead right now, as we see Suman going in and taking out Rogue all on his own. This is what I was talking about. LeBlanc, Suman's champion, is very, very strong in those 1v1 situations and can take all of the health off of any opponent quite easily. So they're playing in a way that means that if Pentanet do walk in to try and contest the pressure on the tower, they are at risk of dying like Rogue just did. Pabu is the same. If Ornn gets too close, he can take that fight, and because of it, they've taken 2 towers in the mid lane and 1 in the bot lane, so there are no outer towers left for Pentanet, and they can start attacking the base, which is the big objective that you want to be taking down.
So we're now getting into the base, nearly taking down the inhibitor. That's the little red. What is it? A crystal? Is it a crystal?
Yeah, so it's a building which basically, like I said, it's an inhibitor. So it inhibits your minions. If you destroy that, it makes your siege minion, which is the big cannon minion, stronger. So it
Okay.
comes in, it hits a lot harder. It's a lot harder to kill, and it means that if that's taken, you're going to have these big siege minions walking into the enemy base and doing damage. And if you don't kill them, if they're walking into your base, they can wreak havoc basically.
So Spawn said in the pick ban phase that Gravitas had a fight comp, which you sort of concurred and sort of said that they'd want to win under 30 minutes. It was again his take on it. Is there a case now that Penta want to sort of lengthen the game for their win condition?
So they want to be able to draw the game out probably another 10 to 15 minutes if given the opportunity, because at that point, Get Back has a lot more items under his belt. So does Praetor. They hit very hard. And Biopanther is playing a champion called Ornn. So once Ornn hits level 13, he can upgrade certain items that his teammates have to make them just that much stronger. So if they can take the game a little bit longer, get those upgraded items, Praetor and Get Back will be hitting a lot harder than the Gravitas lineup. So Gravitas will be looking to end the game as soon as possible, because if they let the game go too much longer, Pentanet will be able to start taking fights, and from there probably win the game.
Okay, so this is where the Gravitas boys sort of want to be pushing into base and taking out more of the inhibitors to be able to put more pressure and have them, I guess, pulling back.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why we see what we're seeing right now. Parvu is in the lane by himself, while his teammates are standing off to the side in the fog of war where they can't be seen, to try and capitalize off Pentanet committing to fighting Parvu.
Okay, so they're trying to get Parvu's just trying to draw guys out, and then they're going to sort of come out and flank on the other side effectively.
Basically, that's exactly what you want to be doing. As we see, basically, Seaman just being absolute nuisance again. Parvu is going in. He's found Biopanther. He's jumped in, used that showstopper. The stun has come out. They also have the ultimate coming out of Tarek, which means they're invulnerable to damage. Unfortunately, it has worn off, so Trashley will die, but they pick up the kill onto Rogue, who is a lot of the lockdown potential for this Pentanet side.
Okay.
So from there, Dragon's coming up in the next 43 seconds, so they'll just look to gain control around that. They'll back off. They won't commit anymore because they have taken some of the big abilities away from Pentanet.
Okay. And so again, it's just a little bit of, as Skimmy would say, a bit of a dance on for the Gravitas boys to step up, take some of the base, then step back, wait for the next opportunity, and rinse and repeat.
Basically, so you want to be able to sort of draw Pentanet into taking an unfavorable situation where they use a key ability or something like that, and then sort of capitalize and punish what they've just done.
Yep.
And that's what happened. That worked really well. Unfortunately, they did lose Trashley in the end because of a bit of mistiming, but they got pressure in the bot lane. They've gained enough pressure to be able to take away another Cloud Drake, which means that so basically the buff that Cloud Drake offers on its own is
makes you run faster, yeah?
So that's the soul. So once you get soul point, you move faster, but each individual Cloud Drake reduces your ultimate's cooldown by 10%.
Okay.
And they're some of the most impactful abilities in the game. And if they're coming up a little bit quicker, it means that the next time there's a fight, you can fight more often because they're always available.
Okay. But it was also important because we didn't want Pentanet to get another dragon, yeah?
Yeah, because once they get that, that's when you start to move faster with the soul, the Cloud Soul.
Yep.
It gives you, I think it's 40% increased movement speed when you use your ultimate ability, and then just 10 movement speed outside of combat, which is pretty significant. It means they can rotate around the map faster and look to capitalize on misplays from Gravitas. But unfortunately, they just haven't found themselves in a position where they can actually get that soul point.
So what's happening now is there's a little bit of sort of positioning around Baron, because this is a real key one, because it'll give key damage for the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, most definitely. So basically, they have two approaches that Gravitas can go for here. They can either commit to the Baron and start it up, wait for Pentanet to come in and fight, or they can set up what's called a death brush. So you see these little bushes around the map. They're called obviously bushes. They deny vision if you're inside them unless there's a ward in there. Basically, what you want to do is you sit inside that, you wait for the enemy team to come, you use all your big abilities on them because they don't know you're there, and you can take fights easy that way. But they are going to commit to the Baron. They are being seen here, though, because there is a ward.
So there's a ward there. So Pentanet know this is happening. They've got to figure out, and we've got guys waiting in the bushes to challenge them if they walk into the river here, yeah?
Yeah, that's exactly what Seaman's going to be doing with Parvu. They have enough damage with just Perma, Trashley, and Praelis to be able to take Baron down. So Parvu and Seaman, they're like blockers. So they basically sit in front of the enemy team and say, look, if you're going to commit to this fight, we're going to do a lot of damage to you. If you want to do that, you can, but we're probably going to get Baron. So they basically force them off an objective, but they're going to side better of it. They get back off, get some more health back, get some more items, upgrade what they've got, and then they can come back and they're going to be in just a bit better position than Pentanet is right now.
So it is again just I think Bambi's called it before, playing a bit of tempo in this space, because if they go a bit too early to go after the Baron and they're not quite prepared, Penta can come in, and if it's get back or someone can get either a good skill shot or whatever, and all plans can go awry.
Yeah, exactly. There's a huge amount of tempo and momentum that is an integral part of this game. Obviously, if you back at the wrong time, head back to base, or you teleport to the wrong place at the wrong time, the enemy team can quite easily capitalize on it. If you see, say, you're posturing around Baron, then all of a sudden you see the enemy top lane down the bot side. It means he's not going to be in a position to help unless he's got teleport, or if he doesn't have teleport available. It means that's one less person that you've then got to deal with. And so they've controlled the vision really well. They're taking Darren down to about half health. Parvu is still there on the sidelines. We could see a collapse here. They either need to commit to taking Baron. Full Call of the Forge God has been used by Biopanther. It only lands onto 2.
Take it down, boys. Take it down. Yeah. They just got it.
They do get multiple members caught there by Parvu. He takes down Praetors, which is a lot of the damage. Sully is also very low. He gets dropped by Perma. Rogue has committed. He can't really do a heck of a lot. Biopanther as well is taking a lot of damage. Get Back is really the only tool that Pentanet right now have to take this fight, and he has no front line, which means, the tank potential to keep him alive. Get Back is the only one doing any real damage left. Double kill for Seaman. At this point, the only person who can defend is Get Back, and I don't think he's going to be able to do this. I'm pretty sure
Gravitas that's, to quote Larry David, that's pretty good. When you see Seaman, and it was in there in the shot, he went godlike. Is that just he's just impossible? Like, is that just
so? It's basically, so you've got an AFL player or an NBA player. Basically, after a certain number of wins in a row, you basically consider them very, very good. It's a similar principle in League of Legends. The more kills you get in a row without dying, so basically.
So effectively, when it says that, it's like Steph Curry is on fire. That's pretty much NBA Jam settings, and the ball is now on fire. Is pretty much when he's just everything he's hitting is hitting another champion. He's taking him out and getting kills on every single shot.
Yeah, basically. So you get a kill, you get a couple of kills, you're on a killing spree. I think it's about 3. From there, you go godlike, which is where we just saw Seaman go. I believe it's about 7. And then if you get a couple of kills more, you become unstoppable.
Okay.
So it's basically sort of just saying, this is.
It is just a bit of it's just a bit of flair for the game. There's no special ability. It's just it is effectively the same as NBA Jam saying he's on fire.
Basically, yeah. I mean, yes and no. So basically, it's a bit of flair, but it also sort of gives the enemy team an idea of whether or not they should actually be concerned with this person. As we see, what is the death brush that I was talking about? Praelis has been caught out by a lot of abilities and a lot of damage. Trashley's in a rough spot. Parvu is there. He's pretty healthy. He has a lot of tools to survive. He's going to commit, though, which could be a bit rough for him here. Is going to throw out the damage. He's going to drop as well as Trashley. So they got caught out in an unfavorable position because they didn't have vision. They lose 3 players there, which I don't think is going to be overly detrimental at this point, but it could have gone a lot better for them. And unfortunately, Seaman has committed there. He does get kicked back out. He will potentially take down Sully. No, he's going to have to back off because if they try and fight here, they are going to lose a lot more than just the Dragon Soul. And considering it's only a Cloud Drake, it's probably one of the least impactful Dragon Souls there is at the moment, just because it really only offers mobility rather than damage or survivability or extra damage.
Oh, Sumin wasn't going to go and try to steal it, was he? That was a bit cheeky.
LeBlanc is one of those champions that can do that because she's got her W, which is called Distortion, so she jumps in. Her ultimate allows her to reuse ability, so she can jump in again. Then all she has to do is reactivate Distortion, and she goes back to the initial spot where she started. Yeah, and we just see in the replay, basically, Gravitas got a little bit overconfident. They weren't really paying attention to what was going on. They didn't have the vision they needed, and then Parvu on the back of it committed when he probably shouldn't have. He should have just let his bot lane duo die. His jungler and his support die and backed off.
So 14-10, again, looking at it again, we've got a pretty hefty gold lead. And so it is just, again, you're looking at it now, you're like, Gravitas should close this out, but it has gone longer than it should have, if there is a should have, right? So Pentanet is starting to build to what they could potentially win. Yeah.
Yeah, they're building some momentum back into the game. They've also got Orn, which is upgrading, his teammates' items, which doesn't unfortunately translate into gold. But as much as there is a big gold difference, it on paper it's a lot larger than it is because these items don't necessarily translate into the actual gold score. So
Okay.
I honestly, rather than what the 5K that it says it is, I'd probably put it closer to about 2.5K, all said and done. So Pentanet, yeah, they've drawn the game out, and unfortunately, Gravitas, because they made that big mistake where they got caught out and Pavu overcommitted to that fight,
Yep.
it means it's just going to be that little bit harder trying to finish
To
up
close
the game.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the
But
guy.
in saying that,
Yeah.
we do have a new objective on the board, which is the Elder Drake. So once Soul has been collected, the Elder Drake spawns. Elder Drake offers a buff once you get them to a certain point in terms of health, it just straight up kills them, which can be a big turning point in the game. And if they are able to get it, they can probably win off the back of that.
Okay. So at the moment, there's just a little bit of backwards and forwards. We're sort of trying to put pressure on their base, and Pentanet are just trying to hold on to potentially a fight around that dragon.
Yeah, that's the one. I mean, it'll either be Baron or Dragon. I think if Gravitas play this smart, they can set it up so that Pentanet have to clear out their base of minions and then go for the Baron.
Yep.
If they play it poorly, the waves are going to be all over the place, and Pentanet will be in a position where they can quite easily contest. If they can do that, the way they have been playing the last couple of minutes, there's potential that Gravitas could lose this.
Oh, don't tell me that, Blue Panda. No, that's fine. That's fine. But it has been it has been a bit of a seesaw. Like there was that key fight that sort of pushed it in, but that last, I guess, like you said, that mistake of being a bit overconfident has sort of tilted it back towards Pentanet a little bit, hasn't it?
Yeah, and as we see on the screen at the moment, there's the gold values that each champion has.
Yeah.
And there's some pretty significant distances in the differences. So in the mid lane, it's probably the most even that it is right now. But then you look at the bot lane. So Praedyth is worth a lot more gold because the items that he have are just that much better.
Yep.
So he's going to do a little bit more damage than Puma, unfortunately. But again, that is partially to do with the way the champions they're playing are designed. And there's a lot that could happen in the next wee while if Gravitas do commit too heavily to this and get punished for it. They'll have a hard time.
And we got
finishing the game
Pabu
up.
coming around the flank. Is he going to come behind them? Is that what's
that's
happening?
what he's going to be looking to do. He wants to get the showstopper off and try and land it on as many people as possible. But Pentanet have to commit here. They either contest the Baron or they back off, let it go, and then try and play the rest of the map.
Or nothing happens.
Yeah, or both teams back off because there's a lot of respect going on at the moment because Gravitas have realized that Pentanet are actually doing a lot of damage. Trashly does get pulled back in. Prayless is there, does get the knock up onto 3 members. Pabu jumps in on the backside, does a decent chunk of damage, picks out, get back. That's a large damage source that is gone. Praedyth as well.
Good on your
Rogue
Prayless.
has been dropped. That is 4 members of Pentanet GG down. Pabu's going to teleport into the base, and that is the fight that Gravitas needed. They are going to win this. Pabu just playing spectacularly with Seaman and Prayless in on the backside. So, yeah, that was really clean.
So explain to me clean versus I just is it just when you say it's clean, what does
when you get off all your abilities in a way that it's very clear who's going to win from start to finish of the fight. It was definitely Gravitas. Prayless jumped in from a position where he wasn't seen. Pabu came in on the backside, took out 2 of the primary damage dealers of Pentanet, and from there it was quite obvious who was going to win because once the damage dealers are gone, obviously you've got very, very tanky champions, but they don't do necessarily as much damage as they need to be able to win team fights. And then you saw Seaman after all of that. He was just messing around with Biopanther because what he was doing was stopping Biopanther from getting back to the base so he could stop the push that Pavu had initiated by teleporting into the base. And from there, Gravitas won. They played it really well towards the later stages of the game.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for helping out and filling while I was trying to get the victory graphic up. Victory to Gravitas. Thank you very much, Blue Panda. Where can people find you on the internet if they want to say thank you for helping me out on the GOV cast?
So I'm on Twitter at NZ_Blue Panda. I do have my own Twitch channel, but 9 times out of 10, you're just going to find me casting for other organizations. I work with Bronze Standard 5, Sumsock as well, who pretty well known in the amateur scene.
I do know Sumsock are our community partner, so it's terrific to have you help explain. The idea of these casts are for a non-gaming audience, as more sports fans start watching esports with no sport on. What I'm hoping will happen. Is maybe we will get a player or two to come and join us. And let's see. Oh, hang on. I want to do that. I've just turned that off. Let's see if we can get them again. But yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining in. Thank you very much for everyone who's on the cast, whether it's on Twitch or LinkedIn or Facebook. I think they're all the channels that we've got it on. Hopefully, that puts us in a good position. That gets us the head-to-head versus Pentanet. For those who are listening, and a big shout out to Pete Corelli, General Manager for Pentanet. I did invite him on the cast. He chickened out. No, he didn't. He didn't chicken out. Pete Corelli's a legend. He is very busy working in the world of media in this time. But what we are doing, they're doing a Game On Oz are doing a quarantine cast to sort of raise a bit of have a few laughs and those kind of things. And Pentanet and Gravitas are going to have a stay-at-home cup. We're going to have a match that's going to be happening. I think it's going to be happening on Tuesday night. So stay across both Pentanet and Gravitas socials, everybody. The stay-at-home cup will be coming to you soon, and I believe we have Jordan Fernandez and Jackson Pavone. Welcome to GOV Cast. He says that, and I'm not hearing anything. What am I doing wrong? Oh, reconnect. Ah, there we go. There we go.
We're definitely here.
No,
Okay,
you were
okay.
here. I wasn't here. Anyway, you're here now. Congratulations,
Sean.
Oh, look, I'm trying to run two computers with two hands.
I mean, as someone who does a lot of these bedroom casts, it can be a right pain being in charge of what's going on screen. So
that's all right. That's all right.
I definitely have one computer with one pair of hands.
Well, I've got two computers and one pair of hands. So, anyway, good game. Well played. How did you feel about that? How did you feel playing Set, Pabu?
Well, I definitely went into that game saying, give me Set, I will perform. And I performed. So I'm a huge Set fan personally. So I just wanted the champion because I knew it was really good here and good into this team.
And what about yourself, Pralis? Are you happy with that game overall from yourself and also the team's point of view?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy. I think I made a pretty bad mistake that should have lost us the game, but I think overall.
What was it? What was the mistake? Was that mid game where
I walked into Dragon?
Yeah.
We nearly lost Soul.
Yep.
I mean, as much as
we've got Blue Panda with us, which you obviously can see, but I'm just explaining it.
As much as you did make that mistake, Payless, obviously that the flash into the cyclone over the wall by Baron Pit was pretty impactful going into that. Okay, that must have felt great.
Yeah, I kind of made up for it, but it's still that mistake shouldn't happen. So, yeah, I'm still overall really happy, but.
So we discussed it after the game yesterday and the comms. So explain, how do you bounce back from making that mistake and you're sort of kicking yourself to then making a great play around the Baron? What's the comms happening, and how do you get your get in the headspace to say, "Hey, I'm back in the game"?
Well, it's one of those things where you always have to look to the future, right? What happened, and your goal is always to win the game. So, and thinking about the past doesn't help. For competitive games, I don't really tilt too much, so I can overcome that, and I'm pretty confident. I still know how I want to play the game and how we win the game very easily.
And so Pabu, Pralis, what are the comms like if you're not tilting, but you're going well, you have a mistake, that kind of things? How does the team overall bounce back from something like that? Not to focus on it, because I think but I'm interested in that type of side.
Okay. Well, it's just we just have to reiterate how we win the game and
Yep.
what we do well. And so, you know, when we make those mistakes, it's like, it's okay. We still team fight well. These flashes are down. We're just going to kill these people. That's it. Like, we kind of refocus on what we know we can do and how we can win. And so it's like, it really doesn't matter what happens. We just keep honing in on what we need to do to win the game.
And what about some of your teammates? How do you think they played today?
Suim in particular played really well, but our
Yep.
bot lane played pretty well. They had good team fights in the second game, especially. Like the way our bot lane played team fights was really good, considering they were coming from a position of being shut down pretty hard early. So I'm pretty happy with how everyone played today. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, from a bot lane point of view, like they were down early, but like you said, they came back later in the game in the team fights. You happy with that, Pralis?
Yeah, yeah, they like kept up. They did their job. Like small blunders happened, but overall they did the job and helped a lot.
Well, that puts us in a good position. We hold the head-to-head against the boys from PGG. And so now we have to wait for other results and another big week of games next week. Thanks very much for coming on the cast, fellas. Well done for the win. We didn't get the 3-0, but I'll take a 2-1 every week. Yeah, well done. And we will talk to you guys next week. But thanks very much for joining the cast.
Thanks, Sean.
No worries, thank you.
And
Cheers.
thank you very much to you as well, Blue Panda, for helping me out on the cast.
Nah, no worries, anytime.
All right, I'm going to go back to this page because I wanted to. Let's see if it now works. Hopefully people will be able to hear me when I tell people to go to gravitas.gg and sign up for the best email newsletter in the OPL. And so you can do that, Gravitas GG, and you will also find everything you want to know about the Gravitas squad. Latest news, later on today, we will have the VODs. So if you want to watch any of the matches from the weekend, and we'll also update the ladder. So that was a pivotal match. We draw level with PGG, 6 wins for Avant, PGG, and Gravitas for that vital 5th spot. So it will be interesting to see. I'm going to sign off. If you've been watching on LinkedIn, thank you very much. If you've been watching on Twitch, thank you very much. If you've been watching on Facebook, thank you very much. Gravitas GG is where you can go to sign up for the best newsletter in the OPL. Until next match, my name is Sean Callanan, and you've been watching Gravitas.
Glory. Gravitas. Glory. Gravitas. Glory. Gravitas. Glory. Gravitas. Glory. Gravitas. Glory. Gravitas. Glory. Gravitas. Glory. Gravitas. Glory. Gravitas. Glory. Gravitas. Glory. Gravitas.